There we go. Nice. Alright, cool. That is 2 or 3 attempts, but considering the first 2% of this level is a massive choke point, I do believe this to be a hard demon. Yeah, this level does have two major choke points. The first 2% and the ship at 78, I would say, definitely stand out as pretty notable choke points. They are quite difficult, but beyond that, the level is pretty smooth in how it plays. No real other difficulty spikes. Most of it's pretty simple. I even accidentally did the entire, drop to 100 on my second practice run. I not on my first attempt of it. And well, I did practice more because I definitely needed it. But the fact that I was able to pull that out, I think definitely more so says hard demon. But yeah, this level it's pretty alright. I think that the Sir Hadoken's visual style does age pretty well. And this is a pretty early 2.1 level. It's a 49 million ID, but it was started even a year before this, like at the very beginning of 2.1. And I think that the Sir Hadoken's parts, which is most of the pre-drop, it's aged pretty well. Destriv, it doesn't necessarily pull off the style as cleanly as Hado. You can see that a lot of the block design components are similar, but as far as the composition is concerned, it's a bit more all over the place. But it still is an interesting style that doesn't get built in today. And I personally have always been a fan of this sort of block design philosophy. And even though the level can be a bit too blue at sometimes, I think that overall it's held up alright enough to get a star rate in the modern day. And it is fun. I've always enjoyed Sir Hadoken's levels, especially their dual gameplay back then was pretty iconic. I remember when I was improving at the game, Ebb by Sir Hadoken was the go-to level to improve at asymmetrical duels, and I don't understand why that has changed. I don't see why something like the GDDP does not include Ebb. That makes no sense to me. But I've always really loved Hado's older gameplay. Like Funky Soul, another one of Hado's levels, is still an all-time favorite of mine in terms of the gameplay. So I don't know exactly who built the layout for the latter parts, but it is still fun, albeit clunky in certain sections. I did die to the wave span to ship transition at around 80% twice, and both times I got very wildly different trajectories that were different from what I was normally used to in practice. And in general, it can be a bit clunky, but it is still something I enjoyed. When Destriv got the daily today, I was like, oh yeah, they have some unrated levels, and I do think that Switch and Take the Beating are better levels visually. This is the one that ended up in my upload difficulty range, so I figured I'd give this a completion, and I enjoyed it for the most part. I'd recommend this. Do I expect this to get rated? Not really, but it would be cool, and I wouldn't say it's completely out of the question as a total long shot rate, but yeah, GG's.